Hey friends, I'm Brian. I'm a community college English professor, and I wanted to make a video today about my updated Zoom setup. So here we go. So for the last year or so, like many of us, I've spent a good part of my time living and working in Zoom, presenting and attending meetings, and I couldn't escape the fact that I was working with a 2012 MacBook that had a dated camera, 720p I believe, and a microphone that sounded like I was from the 1960s some days. And then when I looked at my colleagues and I saw students, we were always sort of had that camera angle, you know, the one where we're kind of just adjusting the lid of our laptop to make it seem like it's not going completely up our nose. So I thought there has to be a better way to do this. So I spent some time looking on the internet, and there are plenty of great ideas about how to upgrade to make things look and sound better. But I knew that I had some things that I had to deal with, and this is what they were. One, I'm working in a flexible space, so this is an office slash spare bedroom slash exercise room slash gaming console space as well. And this is my standing desk right here, so I needed something that I could easily set up and take down that wouldn't get in the way of the other things going on in the room. And the second thing that I was really interested in is I felt really limited as a teacher sitting in front of my computer, sort of typing away, doing my thing and sharing screens. I felt really removed from the things that I felt really comfortable doing as a teacher. And so I'm a stand-up person and a walk-around person when I'm in the classroom, and I wanted to try to at least emulate that in a tiny kind of way to give students more of an experience that would be closer to what they're actually not getting currently within this pandemic framework. So here's the first thing that I came up with. I have an old phone laying around the house that shoots in 4K. It's an old Google Pixel, which you can see over my shoulder here. It ends up working pretty decently because there's a bit of software that I was able to run on the phone and on the computer that allowed to pair through Wi-Fi. It's called Irian, and I'll link that down in the description. And what that did was I could stand up and not have to sit down, and it allowed me to be able to address students more directly, and I could be more myself instead of, again, sitting in front of a computer, typing away and feeling sort of confined to the seat as I made my way through this teaching experience. And it connects really easily with Zoom. You don't have to have OBS or any other in-between software to be able to make it work. It's just put the software on both bits of hardware, phone and computer, and you're good to go. So the next thing I did was I upgraded my sound game. And like everybody, I looked on YouTube. I thought, what do the expert influencers say? And I got some advice on, you know, decently priced condenser microphones. And I found this one here for about, let me raise it up there a little bit. I found this one for about $70. You can find them for a little bit cheaper if you just want the ones that are on your desk. But I wanted one that I could sort of move around, and when I wasn't using, sort of pop it up over here in this particular way. But when we're in class, I put it up right in front of my face, more or less, and I think students on the other end are getting better sound. They can hear me more crisply and cleanly instead of through, you know, old technologies. Those earbuds that I was using were from like, you know, 7 or 8 years ago. And when I wasn't using those, it was going through my, you know, 2012 computer. So it wasn't the most updated thing that I could do. And again, this is all pretty cheap. I had this phone in my basement in a box. It was doing nothing. And then I output into Zoom at 1080p. And then with the sound, this was just plug and play. It works straight away with no hassle. Hey, look, we all know this isn't a good experience for anybody, not for the teachers and not for the students. So we want to make sure that we can find ways to make the process work better for our students. And so that's what these upgrades were about. The upgraded image, the upgraded microphone is all about that on the other side for students. So the last thing you're going to see here is me, what it looks like from a student's perspective in Zoom. And so take it away, Zoom, Brian. She was also kind of a writer out of time as well, if we're being honest. She was speaking about women and their relationships and how they handled themselves in a time when people weren't talking about that at all. Like not at all. So a bunch of her stories we understand to be pretty shocking for the period. Not shocking now when we think about what we just read in According to Monk, but those same details transposed, into the 1870s is another story. So that's Kate Chopin in a nutshell. So when you see what's going on here, that context might help you understand a little bit more about why, like on page 223, she's uttering free, free, free at the death of her husband, which is, not something I first expected when I reread this thing many years ago. I'm like, what happened? But